Present day. Present time.
Here's a fact about Serial Experiments Lain. Serial Experiments Lain is an anime about Lain, who has fun adventures in the Wired, the original name for the internet. This anime came out in the 90s, so it's a product of its times, whatever, but underneath this fun Netscape surface, there's an underlying theme. That theme is rats. Let me explain. First, let's discuss the origins of Serial Experiments Lain. It was created by Yasuyuki... who cares about origins of media? Let's move on to summary time! The first episode starts with a girl jumping off a building. A week later, she sends an email to multiple people at her school explaining that in The Wired, she started a ground pound just before hitting the ground, decreasing the velocity of her fall, which means while she's dead in the real world, she still exists in The Wired. One person who received this email on her potato, Lain, talks to the girl over email and gets the offer to play StarCraft. Unfortunately, Lain's piss-bitch computer can't play StarCraft, so she asks her dad for a more powerful one. The second episode has a guy taking drugs in a nightclub called Siberia. Must be a long walk from Japan. Apparently, according to Lain's friends, Alice and two other girls, she was there last night acting evil. Which is weird because she was busy playing StarCraft last night. But after some convincing, Lain decides to go to Siberia with them. 3,876 kilometers later, they arrive at Siberia, and whoa! There's a guy with a gun! Everyone's scared, but Lain channels her inner low-tier god.
You should kill yourself now!
The third episode has Lain being stalked by Will Smith and whoever plays the white guy in Men in Black. She gets an NVIDIA 4090 in the mail. There's also some kids who say that Lain was acting evil and stuff in The Wired. Episode 4 involves a rumor of an addictive game causing students' organs to give up. Lain looks into this game and finds that it is the Scary Maze game made by Silicon Knights, known for the hit game Gex. The Men in Black come back and, in response, Lain blows up their car with her mind. Episode 5, I don't know, Lain's sister who I forgot about becomes cuckoo or something. Episode 6 has Lain upgrading her setup a bit. Pretty cool, but now children are looking at a picture of Lain in the sky. To find out why, Lain tracks down Dr. Gerald Robotnik, who headed an experiment to inject Elsagate videos directly into kids' minds. But the Silicon Knights have gotten the stats of that experiment. Also, Will Smith and White Guy return, and this time, Lain decides to blow up her coolant system with her mind. Episode 7 has the Men in Black bring Lain into the computer room, where Victor asks her to fix his Linux device. They see evil Lain kill a guy, and Victor tells her that that's just normal Lain. She just goes, "Nuh-uh," and leaves the room. Episode 8 involves rumors of Alice having relations with a teacher. Apparently Lain, probably when evil, spread these rumors. So Lain decides to go, "Nuh-uh," and it never happens somehow. Episode 9, sorry guys, I actually left this documentary about UFOs on. Episode 10, Lain encounters God, who says that Lain could totally perform the ground pound cancel thing and ditch her real-life body. But in real life, Lain's parents are about to participate in National No Lain Day. Back in The Wired, God says that his followers are the Silicon Knights. In response, Lain gets the Knights to file a lawsuit against Epic Games, in which Epic would countersue and cause Silicon Knights to lose and have to file for bankruptcy. Episode 11 shows Lain putting a computer in her mind. Lain then appears in Alice's room to give her a Valentine to apologize for the rumors and ask her out on a date. Episode 12 has Lain taking Alice into her room after a fun date to show her awesome gaming setup. Then God shows up and reminds her that he's God. In response, Lain tells him that actually she's God. Or, no. After this, Alice has to leave to participate in National No Lain Day. Episode 13 has Lain feeling lonely after everyone left for National No Lain Day. But then everyone comes back. She says hi to some random woman who happens to have the same name as Alice, and that's where it ends. But what does this have to do with rats? Let's see. Throughout the series, Lain was shown to have 3 distinct personalities. Child Lain, who mostly appears in the real world and is very shy and doesn't talk a lot. Advanced Lain, who appears in The Wired and is bold and pushes the plot forward. And then there's Evil Lain. This one's self-explanatory. Now the thing about these personalities is that these are the exact personality traits of rats. How? Well, let's start with the child personality. This represents the domesticated rat, one that lives in a cage despite its rage. Advanced Lain is the street rat, doing what it can to survive. And then Evil Lain is a feral rat, the one that will climb up a toilet and bite you in the ass. Now you may be thinking, alright, but rats can't connect to the internet. And to that I say, you know the most important part of a computer? The mouse? Mice and rats. They are very much alike, and, actually, The Wired is actually a metaphor for the New York sewers. Think about it. How come Lain suddenly changes when she's in the Wired? Because in the sewers, she's a wild rat. That's also why the girl who jumped off of a building survived in the Wire. Because in the sewers, there's nowhere high enough to fall to your death. What about the knights, you may ask? Well, they're giant rats, of course. Rats can get pretty big after all, and they use their size to bully smaller rats and do giant rat stuff. God, or Eri, is worshipped by the knights, and what do rats love the most to the point of worship? Cheese. Eri is cheese, or is he? Cheese is usually put in a mousetrap, and that is Eri, a mousetrap. Beating him is representative of Lain getting the cheese. All this God talk also brings connections to a skit involving a false rat messiah that for the life of me I can't seem to find. Maybe this is a lost media mystery. The men in black are pest control. They have all the necessary gadgets of an exterminator. Eyewear and a car. That's it. This is just the start of the rabbit hole, however. Or rat hole. Let's dig deeper. The title of the series is Serial Experiments Lain. But why serial experiments? Well, rats are known for having experiments performed on them. This is shown with the kids program. It was an experiment to absorb psi energy. But what does psi energy have to do with rats? Well, what do rats have? That's right, diseases. Psi is a disease. But what does this have to do with Lain? Well, I forgot to mention this in the summary, but when Lain's dad leaves her, he reveals that Lain is a living computer program meant to bridge the gap between the Wired and real life. But this means that Lain is special. But what makes Lain special in the context of this rat metaphor? It is one of the most deadliest diseases to plague the world, the bubonic plague. Lain is the first rat to develop the Black Plague, patient zero if you will. This is why she gains the power to nut on things out of existence. This is why she's alone in the Wire near the end, because everyone else died of the plague. Now if you think that this is where the rat hole ends, no, because there's some other media we need to talk about. There's a game of the same name and a manga called The Nightmare Fabrication, but there's another one that's way more important. This follows up on Lain. And it's actually one I think you all know very well. Yep, Ratatouille is a sequel to Serial Experiments Lain. You see, Lain and Remy are one and the same. You may be agreeing with me except for one thing. You may be asking, how can Lain be Remy if one is a girl and one is a dude? Well, it's simple. People on the internet have caught on that Remy is small, like the female rats in the movie, and have stated that this means that Remy could be transgender. If this is true, then this explanation is simple. After Serial Experiments Remy, which, if you do not call it that, you are transphobic, Remy transitioned into a transgender man and developed a desire to cook gourmet meals. Now you may be thinking, wait, does that mean that Remy infects everyone with the bubonic plague? And to that I say, antibodies exist, dumbass. And if that wasn't enough, look at this image. Case closed. Thank you all for watching this video about Serial Experiments Remy. If you liked the video, build a shrine to the litter channel, or like the video, whatever suits you. See you next time where we find out who Charlie is and why his horse keeps cramping my leg.